Hey Ubisoft, how come you never made an Assassin's Creed that's set in feudal Japan? Wait, you did? And it's out now? Welcome to Triple Click, where we bring the games to you. This week we are talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows, the latest game in the long-running Killin series. Let's get into it. I'm Jason Schreier.
I'm Kirk Hamilton.
And I'm Maddy Myers. Hello.
And hello.
Hello. We're back in the digital realm again.
We are.
Back on cams.
After having just seen each other. It's a little different.
It's not as exciting as when we're in person.
Yeah,
No, it's not.
it's
And also not as chaotic.
No, true. Sort of comforting, but not as chaotic.
If you have not already listened to this week's bonus episode, you should go listen to it because it's just totally
It's definitely chaotic.
bonkers.
Yes, quite chaotic.
We're all in the same room just talking over each other and asking ridiculous questions. And
Right,
apparently you two have just informed me that one of our listeners in the Discord has created a chart.
That's right.
Graphing. Is this the same person who did who got the mug for doing the analysis?
Yes.
Who?
Okay, Neo on Discord, in addition to
Yes.
analyzing when you subbed in my voice on a previous episode,
Yeah, they are going above and beyond yet again.
has also created a graph of hot dogs versus like how much you would make over time if you just had $1 million. Versus...
Yeah, the question was, would you rather have $1 million right now or $1,000 every time you eat a hot dog for the rest of your life? And there was some discussion of that. You'll have to listen to the bonus episode to hear where we all came down. But if you would like to see some data analytics, you can also go to the Triple Click Discord.
I appreciated the chart. I liked it a lot. Our Discord is good.
And if you want to hear the bonus episode, of course, you can become a member at MaximumFun.org/join. And now is the perfect time because it is Maximum Fun Drive. So you'll get a bunch of cool stuff, including our super cool pin if you upgrade or join. That pin is amazing. Our lowercase g gamer pin.
Yes.
Couple of things also. One is we will be doing a Max Fun Drive stream on Thursday today, the day this episode is going live. Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on our Twitch channel, which there's a link in the show notes. So check that out. Come hang out with us. We're not going to be streaming anything in particular. It's just going to be like Kirk playing games while we all just hang out and take questions from the chat and just talk about whatever. So that'll be cool. And the other thing is big thanks to everyone who came out to the Triple Click meetup last week, which was super fun.
So fun.
It was so great.
So cool.
A lot of cool people come out. Yeah, it was really exciting to just hang out with a bunch of listeners. Exhausting to just do that much socialization, but also very fun.
It was so fun and so worth it. It was like the good kind of exhausting where I left and I was like, we have so many cool listeners and they were so kind. And it was cool to hear about their projects because some of them were there for GDC. And that's really exciting. It's cool to hear from everyone about their lives and what they're working on.
Yes,
Yeah.
It is always very cool to hear from listeners, especially from listeners who like have been in the industry for years and years and years and still listen to us.
They listen to us?
Yeah, they still listen to us.
They still haven't
Very
bailed.
weird.
They have not been like, oh God, these guys, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah. I don't know.
I think that's it. So without further ado, Kirk, what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows. And
Yay.
I've written a little preamble about the game to get us started. Assassin's Creed Shadows is the 14th mainline game in Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed series, following 2020's supersized Assassin's Creed Valhalla and 2023's more bite-sized AC Mirage. It was developed primarily by Ubisoft Quebec, whose past entries include 2018's widely beloved AC Odyssey and 2015's criminally underrated IMO Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Shadows takes the series at long last to 16th century Japan, otherwise known as the Sengoku era, a time of samurai and shinobi, of political intrigue, betrayal, bloodshed, vengeance, Hattori Hanzo swords, and all that other good stuff that you've seen in a million samurai movies and TV shows. It tells the story of two protagonists, Fujibayashi Naoe, a young shinobi of the Iga clan who sets out for vengeance against the mysterious organization that engineered the destruction of her people, and Yasuke, a black samurai who, after arriving in Japan enslaved by Portuguese Jesuits, falls into the service of the warlord Oda Nobunaga and eventually finds himself free to make his own destiny. Through a quite violent and tragic series of events, Naoe and Yasuke wind up joining forces to form the Japanese Brotherhood of Assassins, known more commonly these days as the Hidden Ones, in a quest to rid Japan of the influence of the assassins' longtime enemies, the Templars. The upshot for players is that they will control not one, but two very different characters this time around, with different strengths suited to different situations. She ninja, he samurai. She's small, he large, he very large. She sneak, he stab. She has a hidden blade and throwing stars. He can Sparta kick a man halfway across a village. This game involves setting out across a gorgeous open world, fighting bandits, solving puzzles, meditating and making art, praying at shrines, exploring ruins, and hunting, killing, and occasionally sparing a variety of assassination targets. All the while, you are learning the backstories of the two characters, guiding them along their path towards presumably some kind of cathartic moment of closure. I wouldn't know because this game is like 1 billion hours long and I've only played about 15 hours. But I have played enough to know that I think the game is pretty fun, and I think that all of us have played enough to have a pretty solid read on it. So yeah, that's Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now we're going to talk about it. Let's just start with some quick thoughts on the game. Jason, how about you go first? What do you think of this game?
So here's where I must confess that I haven't played a ton of this game because every waking hour I've instead been playing or thinking about Blueprints, which we'll talk about more in a couple of weeks. But I have played enough to kind of get a feel for it. So I'm a few hours in. I'm exploring Sakai, which is like the first city you go to after you get your base as Naoe. I have not yet joined forces with Yasuke. And I have a couple of thoughts. One is that it's cool. It's gorgeous. It's like one of the most gorgeous games I've ever played on my computer on like ultra high graphics. It looks amazing. And it feels good. It's just, it's exactly what I expected from an Assassin's Creed game. There are zero surprises. So I'm enjoying it. The other thought is that it feels like I've played this game before a few times in a few different ways. One, most notably, is with Ghost of Tsushima 5 years ago, which felt like it took the Ubisoft formula and brought it to feudal Japan. And that to me was kind of like, oh, all right, I've already played my Assassin's Creed in Japan game. And this, at least so far, does not feel that drastically different. I mean, there are other kinds of systems. You have this big chart where you have to kind of hone in on these circles of like targets or objectives and quests. And you have to kind of, if you're playing in the mode, the mode with exploration turned on and like without tons of indicators and stuff, you really have to pinpoint where people are and what to do with them and so on and so forth, which I'm enjoying. And I'm looking forward to checking out more, which I will do at some point. But like my initial impressions are not like, oh my God, I have to keep playing because it feels like I've been there, done that. There have been a lot of feudal Japan games in recent years. I feel like the calls for Ubisoft to make this game were a lot louder, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago than they were now. But yeah, I mean, it seems cool, I suppose.
Nice. Maddy, how about you?
I'm loving it. I will say I've never played Ghost of Tsushima, so can't weigh in on that part of it. But immediately loved this, and I also am playing in immersive mode, which I just want to shout out because I think it's a really cool mode. And the game doesn't make it obvious to you that it has it because it's not right there at the first select screen. It's like 4 select screens in. So basically what it does is it has all of the Portuguese speaking characters speaking in Portuguese with English subtitles for my benefit, and all the Japanese speaking characters speaking in Japanese, which is just historically correct. And I'm really, really digging that. And you would think that would be on that first screen where you select all the subtitles. It's not. So just keep on clicking through and then choose that. And I'm also playing on canon mode, which means I'm not making any decisions. So Assassin's Creed games kind of more recently, I think Odyssey was the first one that had player choice in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't really care for that personally. I like it when there's a designed story and I'm playing as a specific character in an Assassin's Creed game. They have a motivation to become an assassin. I get to just be along for the ride while I'm watching that story play out with them and killing thousands and thousands of people along the way. I enjoy that. I don't really need to make dialogue choices. So that's how I'm playing this game, and I'm really liking it. And it means that when a cutscene starts, I can just put down my controller and watch it like it's a TV show. And I'm really enjoying that. I'm really digging the story. So I I love Naoe. I think she's a fascinating character. I really like everything that's happened with her. I think the opening with Yasuke is amazing and really cool. The game takes a really long time to get you back to Yasuke if you're me and you're doing every single side quest, which I can't help but do. I'm like 12 hours in and I still haven't actually reached Yasuke. That's, again, just my personal play style. I don't know that that's true for everyone, but I'm just really doing all the Naoe stuff right now and digging it a lot. And I just really love her as a character and the story. And I mean, I could go on, but Kirk, I want to know what you're feeling about the game. I know you're also playing on canon and immersive mode, right? Are you regretting it?
So am
How are
I.
you feeling?
I think all three of us are per Kirk's recommendation.
Cool.
At least I am per Kirk's recommendation.
Yeah, I really like both of those modes. Immersive mode is impressive in part because, as far as I can tell, they've got the animation lip syncing matching up with the Japanese language, which is so neat. And then a couple of times, at least in the version I played, which is a pre-release review build, there were some more elaborate cutscenes. For example, the one where Naoe and Yasuke first kind of meet, where it looked as though the lip syncing wasn't matched up. Like maybe the scene was more elaborate, so they had to render it with the English like lip sync, so it looks more like watching a movie with a dub, only it's backwards, where it's like a Japanese dub on English acting. Anyways, I really like immersive mode, and it could be they've patched that out at this point or something. But the most part, it really looks like people are just speaking Japanese. I've found the Japanese voice acting to be really strong. Some of that may be that I don't speak Japanese, so some of the nuances of the performances are lost on me, but I really appreciate hearing the actual language people would have been speaking. And also, having just come off of Shogun, I feel like this game has quite a bit tonally in common with Shogun, and I really, I just got used to watching that show. It's mostly in Japanese, that show, and reading the subtitles. I almost wish they had put as much work into the subtitles on this game as they did on the show Shogun. I think, was it actually Polygon? You guys had a whole article about the subtitle typeface that they came up with and how hard they worked to make it be more visible while you're watching the show or something like that, or to match the characters. I can't remember all the particulars, but maybe we can link it in show notes. Anyhow, I have been really enjoying immersive mode, and I've seen people criticizing the English performances and just the feel of the game in English, so I think that is the right choice. And yeah, I love canon mode. It's so funny to me that we've reached a point that taking away my choices is so appealing.
I know.
Because it used to be, there was a time, not in my lifetime, where adding choices to a game was just so exciting. It felt like, oh, I'm getting to play a part in the story. And now that's become so common that it's been added to games that frankly don't need it. And yeah, there's a moment kind of early on when Naoe defeats the bad guys and her allies are holding this one guy down and saying, oh, this guy sucks, he's one of them. And one of her allies is like, let's kill him, no mercy. And the other one is like, no, that's dishonorable, you shouldn't kill him. And I'm like, this is 100% in non-canon mode, the moment when the little thing appears and it's like, kill him or spare him. And instead I was like, oh, I just get to find out what happens. And now it's like, kill that motherfucker. And I was like, yeah.
I love it.
And it was also cool because Naoe chose vengeance in that moment, which I think actually does speak to her character in a way that makes sense. So I'm really enjoying
Can I just say, can I go on a very quick tangent here, which
Please.
is that I feel like the fact that Assassin's Creed was a linear story and then embraced choices, and some of the choices were kind of meaningless. Some of them had bigger picture ramifications, but there were choices there. And now has moved into this area where like it has choices, but it offers a canon mode in case you don't want choices. Really speaks to the limits of video game storytelling in cinematic ways. And when you compare it, as I have been, to a certain game, but really any game that embraces environmental storytelling, it's such a contrast and really makes me think a lot. And I've been thinking a lot recently about how video games are just not meant to tell these like big grand cinematic stories where you're just watching, and how much more satisfying and gratifying and rewarding it feels when you discover the story yourself in a video game. And I think for too long the video game industry's kind of approach has been like, for the player to to feel engaged in this story, or like for us to take advantage of video games as a medium, you have to be able to choose. Mass Effect, you have to be able to choose good or bad. You have to be able to choose who lives and who dies. But more and more, I am feeling like the real way to get the player engaged and to make players feel like something totally that they can never get in any other medium is allowing the player to discover the story themselves, going all the way back to the days of Myst. And that really feels like the way to tell a story. So it's funny that we're seeing this like total boomerang with Assassin's Creed, that it's like, oh, now canon mode is the best way to play. These choices were all kind of artificial and meaningless in the first place. Well, okay, now you're just going to play through this playable movie as a story. And I don't know, it really makes you think about video game storytelling and the way in which it works.
It does. And yeah, let's stay on this for a minute because I think that it's interesting, partly because Assassin's Creed is so many different things. The main story of Assassin's Creed is that cinematic story where you can opt for a canon version or you can make some small decisions, similar to a Mass Effect. But within Assassin's Creed, of course, there are 15 other games, and some of those games do rely on player agency and let you discover your own stories, whether it's exploring some town or some ruin where there's a kind of interesting backstory or something, related to Japanese culture that's really interesting, or even some of these assassination missions. There's this big, elaborate objective board that's a little overwhelming, but the more I've played, the more I've come to kind of appreciate it. It's a nice way of visualizing all of the different possible plot threads for a game this massive. So you're tracking out all of these different assassination missions. You kind of have these circles, and around the circle are a bunch of targets. And this was true in Odyssey as well. It feels like an evolution of Odyssey's big, complex, murder board.
Mm-hmm. And Origins has one.
And Valhalla takes it even further by making the big bad be like, well, I won't spoil it, but it's like a pivotal character. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really, just that because this is the same lead development studio, it feels as though they're probably evolving some other ideas from Odyssey.
That's probably true.
Because that Odyssey introduced some of this stuff. But yes, I mean, the series has just been moving this direction. My point is, there are these circles of assassination targets. And in past games, you would just go kill all of those people, and each one would be a different kind of challenge. A lot of them are fairly repetitive. And I found myself kind of autopiloting my way through one of the early ones, and I killed some guy, and there's a family of jerks, basically, so they're all kind of living together in this one compound, so I went and killed one, and then, there's 3 other ones there, and so then I was kind of getting rocked as Naoe, so I swapped out and brought Yasuke in, which is a very fun thing to do, because that dude is just like a tank. He just walks in
Kool-Aid man.
Right, starts, exactly, he, hey, through the wall, and just starts destroying people, which is very satisfying, and killed a whole bunch more of them, and was down eventually to one left. And it was this lady who was somewhere else. But in order to find her, I had to first track down a clue. Maybe this is actually a good point to put a pin in this story and explain a little bit about how objectives work in this game, which is also interesting because it doesn't just tell you where to go immediately. It'll give you information over in the side of the menu. And it could be that this is one of the modes that I'm playing on, but I think this is a kind of a standard way to play the game anyways, where you'll get a clue. Your target is in the western part of the continent on the coast. He frequents this temple. And then you can deploy scouts if you want to get, a closer bead on the target's location, or you can just follow the clues and go over there and kind of figure it out. And it can feel a little onerous, but the scouts sort of make it possible to move a little faster if you want to just plow through it. But being forced to slow down is actually kind of nice. In this case, I had to slow down because there was a clue to find that final target. And it was a note. And when I found the note and I read it, I kind of stopped autopiloting through the mission, and I read the note and realized, this woman doesn't want anything to do with her terrible family and is actually going to try to be better. And that made me feel conflicted about the fact that I was supposed to go kill her. But then I went and found her, and she was standing in a temple, and instead of just immediately killing her, I had a talk prompt over her. And so now I talked to her, and she said, she's like, I know who you are. I know what you're here to do. And basically explains that she doesn't want to be like the rest of her family. And I chose to spare her. And then suddenly the little icon on the objective the objective board, instead of it being a blood splatter over the person I'd killed, it was a little yellow glowing spared, icon. And so it made me realize actually that I had killed her brother, who was a really nice guy. I just hadn't realized because I'd been in video game mode just plowing through it. She's like, oh, if you could please not kill Goro, my brother, he really wants, the two of us really want to do that.
And you were like, oh, definitely won't do that.
Interesting you say that.
Cool. What's his name? Goro? Yeah, I'll spare him for sure. No problem. Anyways, I gotta go. Throw a smoke bomb on the ground.
If you find him dead later, it was not me. No.
It was one of your brothers. So anyways, it was a really interesting, it was a both kind of funny and also interesting moment of storytelling and also me discovering the story in a way that did feel organic and video gamey and not cinematic. There weren't really any cutscenes. It was just something I played through. So basically, long story short, this game does contain that sort of thing as well. Just because it's a modern Ubisoft game and especially an Assassin's Creed game, it contains a million other things.
Yeah, that's the thing that I was reading our former boss, Steven Totillo's review of the game, and he mentioned something similar where he found a note and it led him down some rabbit hole. And that's the type of thing that actually makes me want to keep playing this game, which I definitely will after I'm done with my current obsession, because like I find that stuff to be the most appealing part of these games is when you like really have to think about it. In fact, my favorite parts of Valhalla, and I'm curious to hear if there's other stuff like this, my favorite parts of Valhalla were like the little mysteries you would find, and they contain little riddles you'd have to solve or little puzzles, like kind of almost Breath of the Wild shriny type stuff. And there would just be the blue dots on the map, and you would have to go and do just really interesting stuff with them. I really love in these games when like something has the trappings of a AAA game, but it also includes some stuff that actually doesn't just hold your hand the whole time and forces you to think a little bit about what you're doing. And stories like the one you just told, Kirk, make me really excited about this game and playing more of it.
Yeah, I don't know if there are as many puzzles. I've only played like a couple of those like caves where you like do a series of events to get loot. And I think those are fun, but they've been pretty simple so far. I do think, though, that playing as Naoe is always a puzzle, because anytime you're playing a stealth game, I see that as a puzzle in a positive and fun way, where you're like, okay, I'm looking at all these guards or people, and like maybe there's some civilians nearby. I don't want to intersect with them and get in trouble. And like there's also some people who are kind of in between civilian and enemy in this game, like people who will run away and warn the guards about you, but maybe you don't really want to kill them. And so you kind of end up with
Feels
this
kind of bad.
Yeah, it does. And so you're kind of, if depending on how you feel about video game morality, clearly I have my hangups about this. I'm like, okay, I only want to kill like the really bad guys, but I need to sneak around and plot out my path. And I find that extremely pleasing. And there have been some Assassin's Creed games in the past where they take away your ability to like basically one stab kill somebody. And I've always found that very unsatisfying. I really like being able to just instantly down someone or knock them out if you're playing in a no-kill version, because I'm just like, I need to do it immediately, because otherwise the puzzle isn't fun. And this game just returns to form with that. Like as Naoe, you can just go around and like sneak up on somebody, immediately assassinate them, drag their body into the bushes, whatever you need to do, and then just go down the line, as opposed to feeling like, oh, there's all these other combat mechanics here. It's not to say I don't enjoy Yasuke, but like I just really like that Naoe is the old school style assassin that just feels like the right kind of Assassin's Creed to me, and that helps balance out the fact that there's also this melee character who's really fun as well.
To add a wrinkle to that, there are characters who you can't one-shot as Naoe. There are both, if a big character sees you coming, they'll just sort of stop you, which I appreciate.
Me too.
It actually plays into something I like about Naoe, is that she is very small.
Yes.
She's maybe the youngest protagonist in an Assassin's Creed game.
And I think the most physically diminutive as well. She's very tiny.
She certainly seems the youngest. She's like a teenager. And as a result, you really do feel that she's up against these big, tall men mostly, and she has to be really wily and figure out how to beat them. And even the animations, which, man, the combat animations of this game are out of sight. And some of the assassinations where she like slides up under someone with her feet and trips them backwards so she can get at them. It's all very cool and kind of speaks to her character as being so resourceful.
Very gory.
There is also a setting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's very very bloody.
Yeah.
There's a setting actually where you can turn on one-hit assassinations for everyone if you just want to play it
I didn't
that way,
know that.
which is really nice. And I could see wanting to do that. I'm like okay with the limitation.
I kind of like the additional puzzle aspect of like, okay, you can one-shot kill or one-hit kill rather almost everyone except certain people, and then that's just an additional wrinkle that plays into the difficulty of the game. I'm enjoying that aspect personally.
Yeah, it's fine. I appreciate that they give you the option. But yeah, to talk a little bit about the two protagonists setup and a little more about Naoe and Yasuke as characters, I really like this setup in that I like that there's a strong gameplay differential between the two characters. So Ghost of Tsushima is obviously a very relevant comparison point for this game,
especially since the sequel is about to come out later this year too.
Yeah,
sure. But even if it hadn't, it's still, I mean, it's, it still would be. And I think actually the sequel might be able to solve this problem. I don't know that much about the narrative setup. An issue with Ghost of Tsushima, which I played a whole bunch of, I didn't finish because it's massive, but I played like all of it, the DLC, which was fantastic, really good game. It had this problem in the narrative, or it was kind of what the narrative wound up being about, is that the protagonist is a samurai. He's a lord. He is an honorable man. But then the fun thing to do in this setting is be a ninja and sneak around and like take people out like a dirty dog. And the whole problem with the game was that this guy who sees himself as very honorable and wants to do the honorable thing where you like walk into the town square and announce yourself and say, come and fight me one-on-one, because we are both honorable men, is instead climbing around on rooftops and like murking people in the shadows. And then he was always really upset with himself about that and feeling very conflicted.
Which is the story of the game, to be fair. Like that is the central
No, not
crux.
even just to be fair. Like they almost had to make that the whole story of the game. Where in this case, we've just split the two characters up and it kind of simplifies things. And you get Naoe's story, which is the story of like just like a common person who is using every means at her disposal to stop an overwhelmingly powerful foe. And then also you get to play Assassin's Creed, which it has a much more elaborate stealth system than Tsushima. There's all kinds of cool stuff that you can do. You can crawl in this game for the first time, like Solid Snake. It's totally sick.
And also, like, she's small enough that she can really go under the grasses. And, whereas in previous AC games, I feel like you could always kind of see Bayek or whoever.
And Connor seems like a pretty big dude.
Yeah, it's just so satisfying that she's so tiny. Anyway, keep going.
You can see Cassandra's triceps rippling through the grass.
You can. She can't help it. She's huge.
I think that is a kind of a weird disconnect for me, especially with Odyssey and Valhalla, where I mostly played as Lady Ivor, whatever, in Valhalla, and as Cassandra. But they're both like jacked ladies who are big. And I mean, in Valhalla, you're a Viking reaver. Like the picture of that character is someone with two axes and like blood spraying everywhere, screaming as they run into a town to like murder 100 people. Just the minute I would take that same character and start crawling around in the bushes, it just felt weird. It just didn't seem right. This divide works much better.
Yes.
And to compare it to one other game, which is Syndicate, which I mentioned earlier, a game that I really like, and UB Quebec also fronted, that was where you played as Evie and Jacob Fry, brother and sister, who I think this was it was like the 1.0 of this idea, where Jacobs was supposed to kind of be more of a melee combat action character. They gave him a few special abilities, and Evie is more the stealth character. And similar to this game, I wound up playing as Evie all the time, both because stealth is more fun and that's what I go to an Assassin's Creed game for, and also because Evie's a way better character than Jacob. She's like one of the best characters in all of Assassin's Creed, so I just wanted to be her. Jacob's kind of annoying. She's like a top hat milady loser. Anyways, so they kind of differentiated the characters, but you could still play the whole game as either one, and they didn't feel nearly as different as Naoe and Yasuke, and I appreciate that they've really leaned into that.
I think Naoe and Yasuke are both better characters too. Like, you really like both of them, and that helps, I would say.
I mean, Evie is an awesome character, but yes, Naoe and Yasuke are both good characters.
Oh, I just meant like they're both strong. I wasn't trying to...
Oh, they're both equally good. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So is the game set up that you can play any mission as either of them, or they're like, do they each have their own story paths as well? Like, how is it kind of like structured?
For the most part, yeah. Here, take it, Maddy.
I mean, eventually you can play both of them for either mission, the way that Kirk was describing, but they also both do have stories that they each follow.
Well, my question is in reference to after they join up. So like, is the rhythm of the game that like you go from place to place and you can just swap them out at any time?
Yeah, so you can swap whenever you want. It's a little onerous. You have to go into the menu. Sometimes the game pushes you to do it because you'll get a wanted level. So if your character gets wanted, especially Naoe, this will happen because she'll get spotted and an alarm will go off, and then in that whole region she's wanted, which just means guards will see her and immediately attack, and it kind of just makes life harder. So the idea is to kind of push you over to playing Yasuke. For the most part, you can play as either of them, but then they each have their own story missions, like Maddy was saying, where you have to play as them.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I am enjoying playing as Naoe. Did not enjoy Yasuke quite as much, but I'm curious to see how I feel when I've played more of him.
The thing is, like, it's Naoe's game in a lot of ways, and that's okay. I think they're pretty clear about that. You get Naoe's backstory. She's the one you see this incredible tragedy that befalls her, and you really get her motivation, where Yasuke is much more of a cipher and you learn his backstory over time. He's like a compelling character purely by just being a black man and samurai in Japan. Like, that's interesting. And you learn how he came to be there over time, but now is a much more traditional Assassin's Creed character.
Yeah.
She has a great tragedy happen to her. She loses everything. She vows revenge. She starts putting together a team and so on.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting to hear that it's Naoe's game because, like, I've reported on Bloomberg back when the Ubisoft kind of sexual harassment scandal was happening about 5 years ago. I did a big report on Bloomberg, and I talked about how dev teams for Assassin's Creed games had tried to either make a solo female hero or put more emphasis on their female heroes and just been denied. Odyssey might be the perfect example of that, where Cassandra was really envisioned at the beginning as like the hero of the story, and people at Ubisoft in the higher levels were like, nope, can't have just a woman as a game or it won't sell. And so they forced Alexios to be a playable character as well. But you play that game and it's like, clearly this is Cassandra's game, and like Alexios is meant to be the character he becomes if you are not playing as him. So yeah, it's interesting to hear. I don't know. I don't have any reporting on whether that was the case for this game as well, but it's interesting to hear that this is yet another game where it feels like the woman maybe should have been the sole character and the male protagonist feels more superfluous.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'd say she should have been the only character. I agree that...
Or at least that it's her story, I should say, is what the way you just described
and she is driving the story, and it's okay having the secondary character. I have found Yasuke to be an interesting and compelling character, and like I was saying, I like how they've split up all this action stuff that they've built up over these games, where you can play as this wrecking ball and just put that all in one character. So you then have a much more pure stealth character that feels more like older games. But I do agree that like it seems clear over the course of this series. I mean, you've got, going back to Liberation, Aveline was the star of Liberation, but Liberation was kind of a standalone DLC. Like I was saying, Evie Fry was by far the best character in Syndicate, but she still was kind of tied to her brother. And then she got a really great DLC expansion that you play through as her. It's super cool. Like, she really became a great character. Same thing with Cassandra. Same thing even with Eivor, where like you can play as, I don't even remember what the canon was with that, but they did a whole tricky thing where Eivor kind of is both Femme Eivor and Mask Eivor, depending on...
Yeah, I don't remember how they pulled that
like
off.
Where you are in the Animus or something. It's like when you go to Valhalla, right? You kind of switch depending on where you go.
Yeah, when you're Odin, you're like male,
right.
And then when you're that's the canon way.
Right. So they always kind of have to add the male playable character, and I don't know why that is. I mean, granted, I defer to your reporting on that, but it does seem like there still hasn't been one where it's just you're a lady. She's the main character. Like, it's fine. Everyone will be fine.
Yeah, it's kind of too bad, I guess, that they can't just stick that landing. But I really enjoy Yasuke so much, so it's not like I'm annoyed at all. And I think if they're gonna do it, having both of the characters be marginalized in some way is also fascinating and has clearly brought many bigoted people out of the woodwork. Sure. But I also think it makes for an interesting story in both of their cases, because it's like, okay, you have this like really diminutive woman who's also like lacks a lot of power in society, and she's like carving her way back and has her own vengeance storyline that's really cool, and you like her. And then Yasuke's story is fascinating just because of who he is and where he is. So just like by dint of the fish out of water storyline, it's like, okay, how's this guy going to get through this situation? And that is interesting on both cases. And then the fact that they play really differently, I think, is clever. So honestly, I don't really have any complaints. I think they really nailed it in terms of picking the two characters that work.
Right. Even when I look at the series history and can kind of see this pattern, at the same time, this game, far more than Syndicate, I think, at least from what I've played, is more successful and doesn't have me saying,
right.
what I said with Syndicate, which was, why isn't Evie the only main character of this? Like, her fuck-up brother could just be an NPC who shows up sometimes. Like, she could have just been the main character. In this case, Yasuke feels like an essential part of the game. And I find his story cool. And I like, I really like when they come together for the first time. I would say, like, narratively, they're really close to really nailing some of these beats. There were some times, for example, the whole sequence that brings the two of them together, which Maddy, you'll have played, I felt like that was a little rushed. There are times where I feel like the pacing gets a little bit off. They could have set it up a little longer to have it just be more satisfying when Yasuke finally shows up, since that is a big moment in a game like this where you've been playing as this small assassin who has to be so careful, and then they give you control of the motherfucker again and he gets to just walk in and destroy everybody, which they do that, and it is very fun and satisfying. But I wanted a little bit more. But they've been doing a pretty good job of leaning into the differences and using it in the narrative.
So tell me, you guys have played a lot more than I have. Does it feel, so I looked at the map of this game and it's humongous, and this feels like yet another massive open world Assassin's Creed game that's going to be forever long to finish. I actually did finish the last two, Valhalla and
which
Odyssey.
Is wild. I haven't.
Which is wild. I know. I don't know how, but I did finish both of those.
I finished Odyssey, but could not do Valhalla, which was even longer.
Can't believe
I finished both of them. Yeah, Valhalla. Both of them have incredible endings. Valhalla, especially, like, has this wild animus modern twist at the end.
It does. I will admit, I watched it on the internet. I wanted to know. I wanted to know the ending.
I will argue. I'm a stan of both of those games. So we'll see if I finish this or how much I play this. But I'm curious. Does it feel like repetitive the more you play, or does it feel like it holds up even as you're just kind of going from region to region in this massive world?
I don't know if we're far enough to say, but I do know from coworkers that are further that eventually it does feel repetitive, especially if you're, like, crushing every single tower and trying to collect every piece of loot. Like, they become very samey, or so I hear, after a while. And the way that every Assassin's Creed game does. And I sometimes will find myself just doing those repetitious missions if I just want to spend more time playing the game. I've certainly done that in these before. But for me, the draw is the story. I like that it has one that I'm enjoying. I'm probably just going to get myself to play the 30-hour version. Like, I can feel myself getting drawn into the, like, completionist mindset that I don't like when I do that. And I have to force myself to stop.
Don't do every single side
I have
quest.
to, like, actually pull myself out of my body and be like, what are you doing right now? Why are you doing this side quest? You aren't having a good time when I'm playing these games, because they make it feel like you're supposed to. I don't know what it is. There's something about the design that just gets me.
It feels like a perfect Steam Deck game. Steam Deck / Switch 2
which it's
game.
Steam Deck verified.
I have been streaming it to my Steam Deck. I actually been streaming it because it looks better on there if I don't play it natively, and then it looks really pretty when streamed. But yeah, it is a good Steam Deck game, especially if you're, like, not doing a cutscene moment and you're just like, I'm just gonna go smash some stuff and get some loot for a bit.
Yeah.
It's fine on Steam Deck for that.
I think back to Odyssey, which I played and almost 100%, or at least did every major side quest. And the thing is, in Odyssey, some of the side quests were so cool. You're fighting the Medusa or whatever, or, getting to, or Gorgons, and
or hanging out with Socrates and just
exactly. Like, so I don't know whether or not this game has side quests that are like that, where it's not just, clear out another castle and kill the samurai there and open the chest, which there are plenty of those and they're repetitive but fun, but I'm sure they get very repetitive if you do them all, versus, a side quest that is a really interesting, fleshed out thing. And I don't also know whether or not there's mythological stuff, the way that, they have those animus glitches or whatever where it can manifest.
There almost certainly has to be, especially in this series.
Like
there'll be some ending that I'll be like, what the hell? What?
Yeah, and I guess, and to throw out there, that so far for me, there's been almost no emphasis at all on the modern day stuff or the weird outside the animus stuff, which
might disappoint some people. I know there are stands of just that part of Assassin's Creed. And it starts out with that.
There is the kind of the package that it's in, which is used to be called Assassin's Creed Infinity. I forget what it's called now, Animus, whatever.
Yeah.
And presumably, I mean, it seems like they're going to be adding like the modern day components to that over time. That's the
right.
idea
But
of
if you
that thing.
compare that to Black Flag, where you start off in first person perspective as a game tester at Abstergo in Montreal, and you're walking around an office, like it's nothing.
They've
like
changed
a voice
it quite
comes
a
in
bit.
sometimes and says, "Find some little glyphs in the game." I mean, there's very little. I gather there are sort of emails or letters that you get. You might even go to a site outside of the game to find out what's going on.
This has been the trend for the last few. They've been really just kind of scaling down the modern stuff in recent
They
years.
have, though. I enjoyed the stuff with forgetting her name, but there was a modern day timeline character in the last few games who had adventures and was on a whole thing working with the Templars.
Yeah,
and you
I know who
saw
you're talking about.
Simon and the other characters turn up, and she eventually.
and then Cassandra.
I'll bleep that
and-
out, I guess, for anyone who hasn't played Odyssey. But like,
Yeah.
So I'm saying like that there used to be at least some. They kind of returned to the modern day for a little while in that third gen or whatever you want to call it
Right.
of Assassin's Creed. This game is just not doing that.
But in Mirage they barely touched it from what I remember. So that's
Okay.
what I mean by the last couple of games that they've been kind of scaling.
Oh yeah, sure. My point is just like they are clearly moving. They appear to have moved back in the direction of almost no modern day stuff.
I want to share something real quick, just kind of putting. So one thing we should talk about real quick in the last couple of minutes is just Ubisoft in general. A lot of people have been looking at this game because Ubisoft has been through some pretty high profile financial troubles over the last couple of years. There are a lot of questions about their future as a company. Latest reporting from Bloomberg, from my colleagues, not from me, but from Bloomberg, is that they're planning on like creating this new entity with outside investment that would license out their franchises, and it's a whole thing. It's going to be very interesting to see, and a lot of people have been looking at this game to see how it does. And also, this game has become such a flashpoint for like the chuds of the world that it's become a big question of like, are you going to go broke because you have a black person in your game and therefore you're woke? I got an email. Someone sent me an email from Mark Alexi Cote, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who is the vice president and executive producer for Assassin's Creed. And he said that this was, I believe, after launch weekend or just past the end of launch weekend. He said that Shadows had the second highest day one sales revenue in the franchise's history, behind only Valhalla. And Valhalla, of course, was a console launch game and came during COVID, so kind of an anomaly in the series. So it's doing pretty well. Remains to be seen if that'll hold up, like how the tail will be. Seems like word of mouth is pretty good, so I would think it would do pretty well. So once again, my kind of ongoing theory that there's zero correlation between DEI and sales of a game in either direction holds
Is the
strong.
game good? Is an important question.
It's almost like that's more important.
It's almost like 99% of players just do not care about what skin color they're playing as, only that a game is good.
If it's an interesting game with a good story.
Yes, and there will be no backlash to. Yeah, it's so.
And I know we also talked about Star Wars Outlaws a lot on the show, and I know that's not the same people, but I was thinking about it a lot and playing this in terms of scope and like, oh, is this game trying to do too many things? Because I know a lot is riding on this game. There's a lot of pressure on Ubisoft developers right now to make a hit, and there was a lot. I mean, that was like every sales call they had after Star Wars Outlaws was about how nervous they were. And I don't feel that way about this game. I feel like they chose some really specific things to do and they did them, and I like the things they chose to do, so that was kind of a relief, honestly.
Yeah, it's worth noting. So something that specifically said is that because Outlaws launched in kind of a not ideal shape, it had some bugs, it had some issues, they chose to give Shadows more time. And from what I've heard behind the scenes, I mean, if they had tried to launch this in November as they originally planned, it would have been rough. It would have been a really rocky launch from a glitches, bugs perspective, polish perspective. Like these extra few months were really, really important for polish, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I've been comparing it to Outlaws as well, just because that game eventually got a lot better. It became more polished. They added a lot of new systems to it and overhauled some things that had bothered people. And it was that feeling of it missed its window, you know. Also, it didn't launch on Steam, which I think impacted the PC sales.
For sure.
And there was just that feeling like, is it okay to come back to Outlaws now? I still see people asking this question. Hey, is it time? And yeah, I'd say it is. But then again, I went back to it, and I think it's a pretty fun game. I really kind of like it. I think it's well made. But at the same time, you know, the gunplay is like a little weird. They're just, the stealth is like kind of half baked, and so there's still the feeling that it's not totally sure what it's doing as much as it is a fun game and a great Star Wars simulator. This game does not feel that way. First off, this game is polished as hell. I mean, I've definitely run into some bugs, but it runs great. Like I said, the animations are crazy cool. It's beautiful, like we've mentioned. I mean, I'm playing on like an OLED monitor with HDR, and holy shit.
I bet,
I mean,
yeah.
the seasons change in this game, which is something we haven't mentioned, but is very cool and not something that happens in many open world games.
I didn't know that. That's awesome. Based
you're
on like
gonna
a real,
see it.
It's like based on a real like time calendar.
There's a whole seasonal change system. It's tied in with the scouts, and time passes. I think winter doesn't happen as often because winter actually has like significantly different mechanics. There's snow everywhere. I think sound works differently. The stealth in this game is like there's sound and visibility. You can wait until night when it's raining to sneak in, and then no one can hear you. There's all kinds of stuff like that. They need to add a wait button, by the way. I think they probably will, where you can wait until a certain time of night, because I'll want to
like
sneak
in Zelda
in at night,
or
but
whatever.
it's morning.
You got to sit at a fire for a while.
Nice.
Play your ocarina.
Something like that. But anyways, yeah, the game is really polished, really beautiful looking, plays great. The combat is super fun. I can never quite remember what the combat felt like in the last one of these, but this parry-based combat, it's very good. I mean, I have a really great time.
I mean, it reminds me of Origins. I am the person that I am. It reminds me of my favorite one. This is why I like this one, is because it has all the AC Origins feel to it. It just feels good.
So, it's a really polished, beautiful game. I'm not surprised it's doing well. That's good to hear, though. I mean, it deserves to do well. It's a good game. Nice. Well, that'll do it, I guess, for this conversation of Shadows. I'm certainly going to play more. I share your current obsession, Jason, and I'm probably going to get back to that as well. But it's a nice palate cleanser. It's a game I'll probably be playing for the rest of the year, and I'm at least really enjoying it. So, yeah.
Maddie, when you're going to start texting us
The
soon,
problem is I haven't started playing this game that my two co-hosts are talking about, so I've been having no trouble playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I'm a little scared to play anything else.
For your, don't start it until you're ready for your life to change.
Okay.
All right, let's take a little break, talk about Max Fun Drive, and then we will be back with one more thing. All right, so it is still Max Fun Drive. It's the second week. It runs through the end of the week, which means if you're listening to this, you've got one more day for all of this stuff.
Hurry!
Thanks so much to everybody who's already upgraded or become a $10 member to support us and to support the network, because we really appreciate you. And also, if you did that, you get a really cool pin at the very least. So we are,
so
of
good.
course,
It is really good.
of course, a totally listener-supported show. We say this all the time. You all know this. We can probably keep this kind of short. But Max Fun Drive is the best time to upgrade, because if you do, or if you join and become a member, you get these limited time prizes. The best, of course, being the $10 a month prize, which is the lowercase g gamer pin, designed by Tom DJ, of course, who made our show art. And fun fact, made the show art for Strong Songs as well. Tom is the best, and he made a really great, it's like a little riff on the Triple Click logo, really.
Which he also designed. It's perfect.
Yes.
It's great.
Perfect. It's really great. But if you go to $20 a month, you get like a towel and a bucket hat. They're kind of doing a spring break theme, so you get some good Max Fun stuff. It's that Lisa Frank.
Yeah, it's Lisa Frank themed. It's really good.
Rainbows and unicorns, super good. $35, you get a cooler bag, which everybody needs a cooler bag. You're gonna go buy some stuff at the grocery store that you need to keep cool. Whenever I get ice cream at the grocery store, got to put it in a cooler bag.
Or if you're taking a picnic, come on, gotta have a cooler
True.
bag.
If you're taking a picnic, it's about to be summer.
Yep.
So anyways, that's those are the rewards, but the real reward is that you get to help a cool thing continue to exist.
Yeah.
And by a cool thing, maybe I'm referring to Triple Click, but maybe I'm referring to Maximum Fun. Why not both?
Why not both?
You're helping both of these things exist, and we really appreciate it. So we're going to do our stream tonight. That'll be our other Max Fun Drive activity. That'll be super fun. I hope you can all stop by and say hi. And that you think about becoming a member and supporting our show, because we really appreciate you all, and we really just do it with your support. So Max Fun Drive, MaximumFun.org/join is where you want to go. There's a link in the show notes. You all know this already. All right, thanks everybody. Let's get back to the show. And we are back for one more thing. Maddie, how about you go first?
Okay, I watched a scary movie on the plane home from GDC and I really liked it and I want to recommend it. It's called Heretic and it stars Hugh Grant as a scary man. I really like Hugh Grant's late career pivot to just playing weird guys. Like, I think anytime you're like a rom-com man in your youth, when you get older, you should pivot to playing just weird guys and creepy guys because that just feels like more fun and interesting and nuanced. So the premise of this movie, this is a movie that's like kind of like a play. It's kind of like Ex Machina, not in terms of topic, but in terms of vibe, where it's like characters go to a place and then a series of things happen at the place and it's more of a thriller and you're like, I don't know, this is creepy, and then something whack happens at the end that is actually legit scary and then the movie's over. It's that kind of vibe. But this time, instead of being about a commentary on the tech industry, it's about religion and whether or not God is real. So Hugh Grant, his character, has lured these two young women who are Mormons. They're missionaries to his home because he just has some questions for them. And that's like the premise. And then it just goes from there. They quickly realize that he's not going to let them leave. And from that point on, it just plays out like a kind of locked room horror movie where he's got this like whole puzzle box set up that they can't escape. And like the machinations of the puzzle box, I don't really personally think are that interesting, but I think the religious debates that happen in the movie were really interesting. The two actresses who play those characters, Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East, both grew up Mormon and they brought their own experiences to the role. And Hugh Grant said that he brought some of the like Christopher Hitchens atheist vibe to his role, which I thought was fascinating because he plays it like pitch perfect, like the worst guy, but also like makes good points. And you're like, okay, he's kind of right about some of this, but he did kidnap these two women. I don't know. It's really a fascinating
Those are the
movie.
best villains. And
yes,
you're like,
genuinely,
well,
yes.
point.
And you get to the end of the movie and like, obviously you hate him for doing all this, but you're also like, he did kind of make some decent points about Christianity though, and like, I don't know, and like it just leaves you thinking. And I really enjoyed reading about the movie after the fact and reading all the theories about it. And there's a couple of really good interviews on polygon.com, a website, with the directors that I thought were really fascinating as well. Maybe we can link those in the show notes because I was like, these guys really thought about this one. So if you like religious debates and like a slow burn horror movie that's not like a jump scare style thing, it's more just like a, are these women going to be able to get out of here kind of a style thing, then you'll dig it. It's called Heretic and it's good. It's a good movie.
Nice.
Cool.
I will go next. My one more thing is a podcast that I listened to a little while ago that I really enjoyed. I've been traveling and playing Blueprints and I don't know, reading the Murderbot books. So like I don't have a ton of new things to share. But this was a really great podcast episode that I just wanted to get on people's radar. It's an episode of Search Engine, a podcast that we've talked about on the show before. This is PJ Vogt and Shruti Panimaneni's new-ish show, though I guess it's like 3 years old at this point or something. And it's an interview that PJ did with Ira Glass, the producer and showrunner of This American Life. It's kind of about life and kind of about work and kind of about having kids or not having kids. Those are the three big points of the conversation, but really it's sort of just Ira Glass talking about his life. The question is it okay to just work all the time? Because the premise of Search Engine, which like PJ sort of loosely sticks to, but it's like a little bit just an excuse to talk about things. But the premise is that he is going to act as a search engine. So you can ask a question and then he'll try to find the answer to it. And the question here is it okay to just work all the time? And he's kind of interrogating the way that if you love what you do, which I'm sure some of our listeners can relate to, I certainly can relate to. Especially when you're younger, you feel like, oh, I'm going to just do this all the time and it's going to be all I do with my life. And that sometimes older people, and especially people with kids, will say to you, well, you're not always going to feel that way. Like at some point you're going to value other things. PJ does not have kids, but is now in a relationship with someone who does. So he has sort of now has children in his life. Ira Glass also, I actually think, is actually in a similar situation, which I didn't know. I didn't actually know anything about Ira Glass. So he thought he'd have Ira on as this kind of titan of radio and this very successful creative person to just have a conversation about those kinds of things. And it's really great. I mean, it's just a super interesting conversation, mostly just because Ira Glass is a fascinating guy. I feel like I know him because I know his voice so well, and I've listened to a lot of This American Life, and I'm very familiar with Ira Glass, but actually he is a consummate reporter. He really kind of keeps himself out of the stories. You don't really know that much about him because why would you need to? He's just telling you someone else's story. So I thought this was a really interesting conversation, mostly because of him. He's a real realist, I guess. There are these times where he'll say stuff about, I don't know, how his legacy doesn't matter. They get into a whole thing about, well, what do you think about what you're leaving behind? And Ira's just like, it doesn't matter. Like, literally, it doesn't matter. New people are just going to make stuff. What I'm making is what I'm making now, but it's just not a big deal. And then PJ says something along the lines of, so you'll like get out of the way and make room for people. And Ira's like, you're dressing it up. Like, you're making it sound like I'm doing something noble. It just doesn't matter. Like, he's much more kind of realist and kind of not cynical, but just hard about it than even PJ is, who kind of wants to dress things up. And I found that just to be refreshing and interesting. And so it's a great conversation with a real titan of the field of podcasting and radio. So I really recommend it.
I think radio people tend to look at things a little more ephemerally than, say, I don't know, print journalists.
They talk about that. They get into it where Ira started out making the show on the radio where there was not really an archive and there was no way for people to listen to it. So they just didn't think about it as something that would be a legacy, that you would build up. The way that when we got into podcasting, you already thought of it as like, oh, well, there's going to be this really easily accessible digital archive of everything that I've done. Like, I certainly think of Strong Songs that way. It's like one great body of work that I'm slowly building. But yeah, right. If you were making radio in the 90s, whatever, like it went out, maybe some freak recorded it somewhere and it's like on tape, but like, we have the masters, but like, who's going to want to listen to this?
Much harder to find stuff and cancel you from back then than it is now.
Yeah. So Ira definitely kind of had to undergo that metamorphosis over the course of his career, which they talk about and is also really interesting to think about. So yeah, anyways, it's a great conversation of a very good podcast. So yeah, I hope some people like it. All right, Jason, what is your one more thing?
So on my flights to and from GDC, I read 4 books, all of them thriller books. All were kind of none of them were particularly great, but I thought I would share one because at least it had an interesting premise. So one of the more recent books I read is called Vantage Point by Sara Sligar. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. But it is a book about kind of a Kennedy family stand-in, a very wealthy family in the northeast of the country in Maine, who have an island and have a compound on the island, and their family is cursed, and many of them get into awful situations. Things go awry for them. And the book centers on 3 main characters. One is the scion of the Whelan, they're called the Whelan family, Teddy Whelan, who is running for Senate. The second character is his wife, who came from a very poor background, and the third character is his sister, who has some issues, some struggles, an eating disorder and some other kind of mental health issues that she is reckoning with. And Teddy and Clara, who is his sister, their parents died when they were young, so that has been haunting them. And what happens is the kind of inciting incident is that a sex tape of Clara is leaked onto the internet, and Clara watches it and she's like, I don't remember this ever happening. Of course, she was a party girl, so it could be that she blacked out and had was on drugs at the time. And that's one of what becomes multiple videos, and they wind up disrupting this family's lives and the especially the Senate campaign of Teddy, because he is involved in this heavy political campaign. And the rest of the book is dedicated to unraveling the characters' relationships, literally unraveling, and also what is actually going on here, and the kind of the source who is distributing these videos, where are they coming from, et cetera, et cetera. And it's an interesting book. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the way it ended for reasons that are a little too spoilery. But basically some of the character kind of massive swings in character personalities kind of came out of nowhere for me a little bit, but it was enjoyable to read, and it's always fun to read about an ultra wealthy cursed family in New England that just tragedies happen to.
Yeah, this is one of your favorite topics.
It's a real
Cursed
genre,
rich
apparently.
families.
Cursed rich families, yeah, just like the root trees, right?
I mean,
it's
it's a good topic. There's a reason
it is
there's
a
so
good
much
topic.
fiction about it.
And there's a lot of just like a lot of fertile ground to dig into when you're talking about a lot of pathos involved in rich families and their legacies and their curses and what it does to people. And it's always interesting.
I mean, what is America but the ultimate cursed rich family?
It's true.
Boy.
It's true. It's true. And the dynamics, I'm always fascinated by dynamics of like people who aren't accustomed to money, then
Right,
kind
and
of
then
getting
they're suddenly
into it.
in the situation
Yeah.
with these people who are.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's always interesting too. To have a
I
couple
will
of
say
those.
last year's Long Island Compromise is a much better dissection of a rich family, but this is fun and it's a fun thriller. I wouldn't like not recommend it. Just be prepared for a little bit of an underwhelming or at least kind of confusing ending at the end. And yeah, just if you're curious, if you want to hear some of the other thrillers that I read just in names, I won't do like a Kirk and like do a 4 more thing, but I will.
Oh, come on. You can't indict me while you're about to do the thing that I do. Say the books. Tell people the books. They want to hear it.
One was You Are Fatally Invited by Andy Pliego. Man, not great. Another was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This one was actually really good, but I already shouted out Lisa Jewell a couple weeks ago. She was the thriller writer I mentioned who like was killer, wrote these killer 2 books. This one was really good actually. And then the third one is The Author's Guide to Murder, which is by Beatrice Williams, Lauren Willig, and Karen White. And that was also meh. Not
3
not
writers.
recommended. 3 writers, yeah, and it's a book about 3 writers who like
got it.
are all murder writer, like thriller crime writers, and it was not great. But yeah, Vantage Point, fun book, and
Nice. I just got Long Island Compromise on Libby in the
Awesome.
library.
Oh,
but
cool.
also
You're gonna love it.
I have like 13 books currently on my Kindle from Libby.
Yeah.
I just took it offline and I'm like, okay, I think I'm good for maybe the rest of the year.
I also have a lot of books that have been recommended by the 2 of you that are just downloaded, and maybe someday I'll read them. It's a thing. It's a thing.
Is there a time limit for your library books on Libby the way there is as a physical library?
Well, not if you do the classic Libby Kindle trick where you put it on your Kindle and then you put your Kindle in airplane mode and then it gets returned from your account so the next person can check it out, but it stays on your Kindle so you can keep reading.
Yeah, it's a classic trick everyone knows.
It is, I think, or I would assume.
I don't know. I'd never heard of this before, but
Well,
it's a great
maybe
trick.
some more people know it now.
Yeah,
It's
you're
a good
passing it
trick.
along.
Amazon, if you're listening, don't change that. Don't patch that out.
I don't know
would get
that
very
they
mad if you
can.
did.
I think that would
Yeah,
be very
hopefully
hard to
not.
patch out.
It would be a real bummer. If
Well,
they did.
they would make it so you have to like check in every
Yeah,
once
they'd
every
make it so
24
it's
hours or
always
something like
online, like Diablo 3,
Yeah,
and it
or
was
like,
constantly
whatever.
pinging
Listen,
your
we
Kindle.
don't need to tell them how to do it. They're not going to do it. So it's not possible. You can't do it. Forget it. We
we
didn't even
never
talk
talked
this.
about it.
Anyways, books are cool. Triple Click is a good podcast. Thank you so much for being members. Hope to see some of you at the stream.
Kirk is just gonna censor that entire conversation.
And it's Max Fun Drive. You got a
It
couple more
is.
days,
So
and
true.
then there will be a pin sale, so you can still buy the pin. But right now, think about becoming a member.
Please.
Think about supporting our show.
And if you work for Libby, earmuffs, don't listen.
no,
Don't
Libby is
listen.
cool. If you work for Amazon,
Consider becoming a member, Consider becoming a member of Max Fun and supporting us.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yes,
That's what
yes.
I say to them.
Books are good. All right, that'll do it. This was fun, and I'll see the 2 of you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Triple Click is produced by Jason Schreier, Maddy Myers, and me, Kirk Hamilton. I edit and mix the show and also wrote our theme music. Our show art is by Tom DJ. Some of the games and products we talked about on this episode may have been sent to us for free for review consideration. You can find a link to our ethics policy in the show notes. Triple Click is a proud member of the Maximum Fun Podcast Network, and if you like our show, we hope you'll consider supporting us by becoming a member at MaximumFun.org/join. Find us on Twitter at TripleClickPod, send email to tripleclick@MaximumFun.org, and find a link to our Discord in the show notes. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
Supported
directly
by you.